What if I told you that Ferrari didn't lose in China because of a lack of speed? But because Hamilton found something that they still don't understand. Because while everyone was watching the pace, in Maranello they were discovering something much more worrying. Lap after lap, Hamilton was generating and using more energy than anyone on the grid, even more than Leclerc himself. And the worst thing is not that. The worst thing is that neither Vasseur nor the Ferrari engineers can yet explain how exactly he is doing it. What has Hamilton really discovered? And why could he completely change the balance of Formula One? What happened after the Chinese Grand Prix was not just another technical meeting within Ferrari, it was one of those moments where a team begins to realize that something is not right. And when that happens in Formula One, the consequences can be enormous. It all starts with the usual post-race analysis. Data, telemetries, comparisons, the normal stuff. Ferrari was coming off a weekend where, on the surface, performance was not that far off from its rivals. The car had pace, Leclerc could fight, and in certain sectors they were even competitive. But there was something that didn't fit. Something that did not appear in the lap times, but did appear in what happened within each lap. That's when Vasseur and the engineers start to delve deeper than usual. They don't just look for speed differences, but patterns. And when they focus on Hamilton, the first anomaly appears. The Briton is not only fast, he is constant in something that Ferrari cannot replicate. The energy. When crossing the data with that of Leclerc, the surprise is immediate. Hamilton is recovering more energy during braking, he is spending less in critical phases, and most importantly, he is reaching the key points of the circuit with more charge available. It is not a sensation, it is not perception. It is a pattern repeated round after round. And this is where everything changes for Ferrari. Because we are not talking about a specific advantage, but about perfect execution in each phase of driving. Hamilton lifts his foot in places where others would not even consider it, brakes with a specific intention of recharging without losing performance, and returns to the accelerator in a way so progressive that he avoids wasting energy. It is a millimetric choreography that, seen from the outside, goes unnoticed, but in the data it is devastating. Leclerc, seeing this comparison, quickly understands the problem. He can match the pace at certain times, even be more aggressive in the corner, but he can't sustain that level of energy efficiency for the entire stint. And when you try to do so, you pay the price. The battery drops, the display disappears, and the car loses that advantage at the most critical moments. Vasseur, for his part, identifies something even more disturbing. This behavior by Hamilton was not foreseen. It wasn't in their simulations. Ferrari had not contemplated that anyone could optimize the hybrid system to that level without sacrificing pure performance. And that opens a dangerous doubt within the team. If they have not foreseen it, what else is they missing? From that moment on, the narrative changes completely within Ferrari. It is no longer about finding a few tenths in aerodynamics or improving the balance of the car. The problem is deeper. It's conceptual. It's understanding how Hamilton is playing with the hybrid system as if it were a natural extension of his driving. But this is where the story takes an even more disturbing turn for Ferrari, because once the problem is detected, the hardest moment arrives, trying to understand it, and not being able to replicate it. With all the information on the table, the team begins to rebuild what Hamilton does lap by lap. They no longer look for the difference. They look for copying it. They simulate their lift points, adjust the braking, try to imitate the progressiveness of the accelerator, but something goes wrong. There is always a deviation. There is always a loss. There is always a moment where the energy does not return as it should. And that's where they realize the most uncomfortable truth. This isn't just technique, it's execution. Hamilton is not simply following a predefined map, he is adapting each phase of the lap in real time, reading the state of the battery, the grip, the degradation, and adjusting each micro-decision to maintain that perfect balance between recharge and deployment. It is a level of sensitivity that does not appear in the data until it is too late. Meanwhile, on the other side of the garage, Leclerc begins to experiment with these settings. You try to conserve more, you try to recharge better, but that has an immediate cost. You lose aggressiveness, you lose time at certain points, and when you demand the maximum again, the system no longer responds the same. It's a cycle that you can't get out of. Ferrari then enters into a kind of technical contradiction. If they optimize energy, they lose performance. If they look for performance, they lose energy. And Hamilton loses neither. This is beginning to be reflected in a key detail that particularly worries Vasseur, the final phase of the straights. While other drivers arrive with a compromised battery or entering a critical zone, Hamilton still has margin. He can defend, he can attack, he can choose. And in today's Formula One, having options means having control of the race. Ferrari then understands that it is not fighting just one car. it is fighting against a different way of interpreting the regulations. Because the hybrid system in 2026 is not simply another tool, it is the central axis of performance. And Mercedes with Hamilton has built its entire approach around that. While Ferrari still relies heavily on traditional traction, cornering, and balance characteristics, Hamilton is playing a completely different game, one where energy is the real currency. And here the great internal tension appears. Because Ferrari has to decide, adapt to that model, or try to beat it with its own concept. But the problem is that time does not wait. With each passing race, Hamilton refines this system further. Every stint is a demonstration of control. And every failed attempt by Ferrari to replicate it only confirms the same thing, that they are one step behind in the most important area of this new Formula One. And it is at this point where Ferrari understands that it is no longer facing a simple technical problem, but rather a possible paradigm shift within Formula One. Because what started as a surprise in China now becomes an uncomfortable certainty. Hamilton has not only optimized the hybrid system, he has turned it into the axis of his driving, a structural advantage that conditions each phase of the race. And that completely changes the rules of the game. Vasseur knows it. It is no longer about adjusting 2 or 3 parameters, nor about finding a few tenths in the setup. The problem is much deeper. Ferrari needs to rethink how it understands energy management, how it correlates its simulations with reality, and above all, how its drivers interact with a system that now defines the car's overall performance. Because while they search for answers, Hamilton continues to accumulate advantages. Every lap that you keep the battery in that optimal range is a lap where you can decide when to attack, when to defend, and when to simply control. It does not depend on the context, it dominates it. And that is what is most worrying within Ferrari. It is not a one-time advantage that disappears with a change of circuit, it is something replicable, constant, and scalable throughout the season. Leclerc, for his part, faces one of the biggest challenges of his career. It's not just about matching Hamilton in speed, it's about understanding a completely new dimension of driving. One where pure aggressiveness is no longer enough, where each input has to be calculated based on energy, and where the margin of error is practically non-existent. And this is where everything converges. If Ferrari fails to close this gap, it won't matter how much they improve aerodynamics or how much they optimize the car in corners. Because in today's Formula One, whoever controls the energy, controls the race. China has not been just another race on the calendar. It has been the point where Ferrari has discovered that it is playing with different rules than its main rival. And now the big question is no longer whether they can catch up to Hamilton. The real question is, can they do it before this advantage becomes the championship deciding factor? And in the end, what the Chinese Grand Prix has left is not just a result. It is a very clear warning for Ferrari. Because for the first time, Vasseur, Leclerc, and the entire team have seen something they did not expect, something they did not have in their models and that they now know can make a difference throughout the season. Hamilton has found a way to generate, conserve, and use energy better than anyone else on the grid. And that changes absolutely everything. It is no longer just about having the fastest car, nor about nailing the perfect strategy, nor even about executing better on the track. It is about understanding a new language within Formula One. A language where energy is the decisive factor, and where Hamilton is now several steps ahead. Ferrari has gone from competing to trying to figure out. And that is the most dangerous difference that can exist in this sport. Because while they search for answers, Hamilton continues to perfect his advantage, continues to refine every detail, and continues to demonstrate that in this new hybrid era it is not enough to be fast. You have to be intelligent in every meter of the circuit. So China has not been the end of anything. It has been the beginning of a much deeper battle. A battle where Ferrari will not only have to improve its car, but reinvent its way of understanding Formula One. Whenever you want, I recommend expanding the first block to make it even more powerful and generate brutal retention from the beginning, because that is where you can definitely hook the viewer with this key discovery. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.